Sometimes beracha, blessing, is withheld from us because of the way we speak, or because of the things we listen to, the way we deal with others. All of this concept just lingers on the idea of being sensitive to another. And v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, do unto others as you'd like to be done to yourself. The Torah portion of Kedoshim starts with God commanding the Jewish people to be kadosh, to be holy. And I'll read, Daber el bnei Israel ve'amarta alehem. God tells Moses, speak to the Jewish people, telling them, Kedoshim to you, be holy, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem, because God Himself says, I am holy, I am kadosh. So we have to understand, what does holiness mean? What does kadosh mean? It's a very esoteric concept, yet important one, since God told Moses to tell us about it. So let's clarify something. There are do's and don'ts. There are mitzvot and averot, commandments and transgressions. That is not what holiness is about. You're not holy when you do what you're supposed to do and not do what you're not supposed to do. That's called doing the right thing. That's fulfilling your mandate. Holiness, our sages tell us, is when a person finds a way to limit and separate themselves and create boundaries even for things which are permitted. Whether it's in ways of eating, sleeping, drinking, doing anything physical, diminishing it, limiting it. That is holiness. So it's past the do's and don'ts. It's past the commandments and the transgressions. It's above the letter of the law. It's clinging closer. And God says, if you do so, you come closer. The Zera Shimshon quotes a midrash. Very interesting, very puzzling at first. The midrash says as follows. God tells the Jewish people to be holy. And He tells them, you know why I should be holy? Because I'm holy. Okay. Then He says one more thing. He says, just as I'm holy, you should be holy. Number 2, just as I am removed from physical pleasure, God says, you should be removed from physical pleasure. Zera Shimshon says, how's that possible? We're human beings. We are very physical. We live in a physical world. How is it that the Midrash says that God comes along and says, be like me holy, and be like me removed from physical pleasure? How can we remove physical pleasure? Anyone who decides to remove physical pleasure and stops eating, it's a number of days until a person drops. We cannot completely remove ourselves from physicality. Person says, you know what? I want to jump off a cliff, I want to jump off an airplane, I want to remove myself from physicality, I don't need floor to walk on. That's not normal. What does it mean that God wants us to be removed from physicality the same way He is? This is a deep concept. It's a Kabbalistic concept. I'll try to clarify it as much as possible. There are 3 aspects to a person's soul. There is the nefesh, which loosely translated is the physical soul. The ruach, which is the spirit. And the neshama, which is the main soul. Each of them have different purposes. The Zera Shimshon says that the neshama, the highest level of soul that we have, is deep inside us and has absolutely no connection to any aspects of physicality, even while we live in this world. It's deep in. The ruach is somewhat attached a little more physically. How so? The ruach is any sin in one's mind. If one thinks of a sin, some want to even interpret if one says something which is a sin, like lashon hara or something like that. But nefesh is when one sins with actions. It culminates the sin in a much stronger way. It's definitely more severe. What's God telling us in the Midrash? The Zera Shimshon says, He says, God looks down at the Jewish people and he says, you have a piece of me in you. The neshama, part of your soul, is a piece of me, God says. It's in each and every Jew. He's telling us and encouraging us to try our best to have those other two aspects, the ruach and the nefesh, follow the lead of the neshama. The neshama is completely removed from physicality. Try as much as possible those other two aspects of of your soul to follow that lead. You'll never be perfect, but try. This is coming to an awareness that we are physical and spiritual beings in one. There are aspects that we are comprised of that are completely physical and others which are completely spiritual. For example, sight, scent, hearing. These are aspects which are more physical than not. Even thinking. These are very, very spiritual concepts. The concept of reward and punishment, the concept of God, the concept of Torah, these are spiritual things. Yet we have things which are completely physical about our lives. Ever since Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, the world as we know it merged into a situation of physicality and spirituality, and we have to cope with it and try our best. God knows our struggles. He knows that we're physical and spiritual and spiritual and physical at the same time. But we need to try. The Zera Shimshon is telling us, based on the Midrash, let the neshama lead the way. Try as much as possible to be holy and remove yourself from physical pleasure and enjoyment. Just as the neshama has no part in that, try to let the other aspects of your soul and your very being, your spirit, follow that lead as well.